Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to How to Grow episode 6. Today, we are going to go through what a high ticket coaching offer is, how to build one, how to craft one, what to put into one, what makes an offer high ticket, and go through the process that I'm going through right now in rebuilding my high ticket coaching program, what I'm trying to include in it, what my goals are for it, and really showing you the behind the scenes of what goes on when you're building something like this, or taking something that you've already built and converting it to a more high ticket offering. And so to get started today, so we're starting right on time, and I'm sorry, I know for some of you watching, I did promise that we were going to have a guest today, Mr. Logan Hanks of the Talk Dirt to Me podcast, a long-term client and good friend of mine. However, he got snowed in. Tennessee got the first snow, I think, in like 10 years or something crazy in his area. And so he is trapped in a snowbank with his kids. And so he's not going to be able to join us today. But I do have it on good authority that he'll be here next week. So if you were interested in hearing his experience working with us and how we've grown his show together from 200 people, I think, listening a month to 10,000 people listening a month, make sure to check that out next week, 2:00. But for today, we have a lot to discuss. So for those of you out there, I don't know how many of you may have ever considered going into coaching at all. Let's move the mic down there so you can't see it. Or who maybe you have coaching offers, but they're not high ticket and you're struggling to scale them, which I think is what every coach goes through when they don't have a high ticket offer. Because coaching takes a lot out of you. And I was talking to a client, or a prospect rather, earlier today, and we were talking about how much effort you have to put into a coaching program to really make it work and to see your members succeed. And by not charging enough for it, it really limits the overall impact your coaching program can have. Unless you have a structure that you can follow, that you can sell, that you can still help people, but make it scalable. And so when we talk about building a high ticket offer, it's not just because the information is so valuable. It's that the experience of going through it is transformational. So that's really a couple of kind of vantage points on why you might need a high ticket offer. So if you're struggling with a time issue, if you feel like you've kind of capped out in the maximum amount of clients you can serve in your current program, that's when you need to start thinking high ticket, or at least moving your prices upwards. If you're having issues with people not going through the transformation, if you have all this great information, but people are not committed enough, that's another reason why you want to go high ticket. If people are coming in, but saying that they need more guidance, more hand-holding, that's another reason to go high ticket. And so there's the reasons to go in that market, besides just the competitiveness or putting more money in your pocket, are varied, and every coach is going to have their reason. But if any of those start resonating, this is what we're going to discuss today. So let me get this bad boy pulled up so we can do a little bit of sketching it here and start putting some stuff together. Do this. Present. Get this thing pulled up. All right. And away we... Did that work? There we go. Perfect. All right. And this time I'm going to turn off my notifications because that was super annoying. Let's see here. Snooze. There we go. All right. So to get started, most people, when they think about coaching programs specifically, think about them in tiers. Some people just have one price point, and that is a completely valid way to start if you just want to start with one price point. But I've always thought of coaching programs in tiers because tiers allow you to tailor the experience for people at different price points, which brings us to our first main topic. How much money are the people you're looking to serve able to actually spend on the type of program? And is your program life transformational or wealth transformational? Life transformational things are like health, like if you go back to the health, wealth, and relationships, that's just your health and relationships, right? you can only charge so much for those things because there's so much other information out there. And unless you're going for a very, very niche audience in one of those areas, like if you're going for like very, very wealthy moms or something, and it's like a mom's mastermind, or like you're going after like executive male leaders, and it's like a mental health thing, like in those specific niches, you can go very high ticket, but the easiest area to go high ticket in is wealth, because people can see the clear return on investment, right? Okay, I spend 30 grand on your program, and then, but the promise is that I'm going to make threefold, fourfold that in the first year after I go through it, right? And so that makes it a lot easier. For a program like mine, it's marketing. So naturally it falls into the wealth space. I'm not really concerned about your health or relationships. I hope they're great, but I'm really more concerned with putting money in your pocket. So with that said, I have to start thinking about like, well, who is my customer for a coaching program? Knowing that coaching does not include implementation, knowing that coaching does not include personalized service, to the point where I'm like custom designing a plan for this person. It's an off-the-shelf plan that people are joining. What does this person have to make? And so the way I start thinking about this is, well, how much money does the average business owner who I serve spend on marketing? And let's just look at a couple numbers here. So first off, let's say your business makes 100K a year, right? And we're going to use net for all of these numbers. We're not going to look at gross. And the reason I look at net as opposed to gross is that if you look at gross, the amount that we're stipulating when we get to the percentages and how I think about this are going to be totally skewed once you remove all of the things that person has to pay for before they start paying you. So, if a business is making $200,000, their profit margin is 50%. They're netting $100,000. If I say, most businesses should spend 10% on marketing, if I'm using that of the gross, that is a much bigger commitment than if it's of the net. And so even though there's some discussion on which is the right way to think about it, personally, I just like thinking about it this way better. I find it easier to explain to a client why they should be spending this amount. And at the same time, it gives me a conservative value of what this person could pay. Doesn't mean that this person couldn't pay more if they have better margins, but it does give me kind of a good starting place. That's like, okay, if someone is making 100K with a 50% margin, that's a $200,000 business gross. It gives me some element of scale, right? Maybe $250,000 business gross. So if they're making $100,000 and I'm saying, well, you need to pay 10% of that in marketing costs, right? That is going to be $10K per year. Okay. Well, if I want to do a month-long program, then I just need to divide 10K by, a year-long program. I just need to divide 10K by 12 to make my life easier. And because I'm not great at math without a calculator, and I don't want to bore you all while I do that, I'm just going to make this 120. And so I'm going to make this 12K a year so that we can divide this up into a nice $1,000 a month on marketing. And for some of you watching, you might not be spending $1,000 a month. That's okay. Everybody starts somewhere. If you're only spending $500 a month, this program might not be for you, but it's something to consider. This group right here that's pocketing $120,000, they should be able to spend at least 10% of that money that they're profiting to afford a $1,000 a month marketing budget. But just because this is their full budget, that doesn't include that isn't all for me. I have to think about this from the perspective of, well, if they're spending $1,000 on marketing, probably half of that should be going to their ad spend. Being a paid media guy, that's where I go first. So, well, they need at least half of that. So let's say we do $500 on ad spend. And then we do the other $500 on services. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of agencies out there that will work for you for under $500. Are they good? Not really. Most of them are going to outsource your work overseas. Uh, the agency business is unfortunately a very easy business to start. So it's very common for people to run into these like low ticket marketing agencies that'll only charge you $500 a month or charge you like just a percentage of your spend. And they'll start with any spend, but they don't really get the results because it's kind of like the factory farm mentality. They just have to get as many clients in the door as possible. And if they get enough people will have results that they'll keep paying for their marketing until they get to a point where they can eventually sell the business to someone else to pick up. So they just need to hit a certain level of profitability. They don't really have to care about doing right for every one of their clients because the law of averages means that enough clients will stick around, enough clients will have success that they can keep on rolling. I don't really like that, and that's why our services don't cost $500 a month. But that doesn't change the fact that this is still a big part of the market, right? 120K or 125K, whatever number you want to look at, it's like a $250,000 a year business on 50% margins. Now, again, not every business is going to have 50% margins, but we can't account for all the different variations. We just have to pick a spot in the sand and stick with it. So if we're thinking about a $250,000 business, and this is how the numbers break down, realistically, if I'm going to do a coaching program for them, I have to fit in this bucket. I have to be $500 in services. Now, right now, that's where our coaching program is currently priced. It's priced at $497 a month. And with that, we include technical support to help them set up the marketing systems they need. And we also have a limited suite of creative services that we provide that really just cover the basics. It's not meant to, build an entire marketing system that's going to, would otherwise cost you millions of dollars to build or anything crazy like that. But it's a landing page. It's ad scripting. It's making sure that you have the graphics and stuff streamlined across your different marketing properties. It's the basics that will get someone from $120,000 a year net to $250,000 a year net, or I can move them up into the next tier of service. So let's talk about that. So let's just, for ease of use again, let's just double this. Let's say, well, the next tier up here, they're going to be netting $250,000 a year, which breaks down into and then 10% of that is $25K a year. Or we'll just to make this nice and easy to keep it consistent, I'm just going to make this 2,400. I know it's not a true $250,000, but it'll make the math easier on me. And that's all that counts. So they need to spend $24K a year on marketing. And again, just using the simple 50-50, that means that they're going to be spending roughly $2,000 a month on marketing. And if we split that up again, that's $1K for that is $1K for ad spend. And that's $1K for services. So now I know that this is a different client, right? They can afford almost double. So there's another tier. But say I wanted something that was that was at that like lower ticket, right? Now I know this is all about high ticket, but just say, as we're going through this exercise, I'm thinking like, well, what about people who aren't even at the 6-figure mark? Where could I price my services? Honestly, it's kind of a crapshoot until you really break the 200 until you really break 100,000, 120,000 in net revenue. The challenges that someone's going through in terms of paying their bills are all over the place. Some people live very frugally, and so $120,000 that they live in a low cost state, so they're living large, like they're doing well. They can afford to spend, even if they're only making $80,000 a year, they can still afford to spend a decent amount on marketing. especially if they have other things, like maybe their partner is employed and they're really, invested in growing this business, and that person's paying the bills. So it's impossible to scale this appropriately where it's like, okay, if someone's making 60 grand, then they can only afford 250, then they can afford 250 a month. That might not be true. Like, and so that's why really I found that this level here is a break point for most people. Is like, if they're able to net from their business 120K a year, then you can count on them being able to spend around $500 on your services. But below that, it becomes really challenging to figure out. Some people totally be able to spend $500 a month on this. Some people won't be able to spend $10 on this. And so if you want to go below the $500 threshold, at least in a wealth creation space, and you're looking at like who are you serving, what group of people, really your best bet is to go for like a 99 or a 199 service. So don't go for like the 250 or 249, because that still can be rather expensive. A 199 or a 99 is going to net you great results. One of the reasons I still have a $99 program is because it's a good way for me to recapture ad revenue from people that book calls with me that aren't at the level I need them at for agency work or these high ticket services, but still need help. And so by building a low ticket program that, again, doesn't take me any more than like 90 minutes a week to service all of the clients in the low ticket coaching program, but it still allows those calls to be fruitful because I still get payback on the ad spend, right? So if it, say I close at a 50% rate and each one of my calls cost me $25, well, I can essentially blow 3 calls as long as one of those calls closes at $99 a month, which, with my numbers, that's easy to do. I'd actually make twice as much, even if I was selling just the $99 product. However, the $99 product isn't for everyone because, again, it only serves people who are going to be patient, who are going to be understanding that, like, of where they are, that this stuff isn't going to be done for them, that they're really just signing up for advice and guidance. They're not getting any of the other bells and whistles that come with my programs in terms of like the additional services. So that's an important thing to realize, is when you're talking to someone, if their expectations are out of line with what you're able to offer at a low ticket offer, and that's consistent, and you can't seem to shake that, you can't seem to get people to realize, like, listen, it's a $99 program, like, you can't expect all this, it may not be worth doing a low ticket program for you. For me, I find it worth it. I like having it. It kind of goes back to our legacy of being a very affordable solution for people who are trying to figure out the marketing for their business. It's not right for everybody, though. The other part I like about low ticket offers is that low ticket offers have incredibly high retention rates, because it's oftentimes looked at as like this expense, like, yeah, I could cancel it, but there's other things in my life that cost more money than it. And it's not taking a huge chunk of money out of my pocket each month. And so even if I don't use it this month, I'm still okay paying for it. And so that's the other reason why to keep something $99 or below, because oftentimes people will just stick around just to have that resource when they need it and not use it all the time. So that's my pitch for low ticket. I know that was a little bit of an interlude, a tangent from what we're principally talking about, but low ticket. But I thought it was important to mention so that you don't feel like there's no solution for low ticket offers. So anyway, getting back to this. So right now we have these two groups, and you're probably thinking, well, what about the people that make twice that? What about the people that are making $1 million a year, right? So they're making $1 million a year gross, and they're pulling in 500,000. Well, shouldn't you have an offer that's a $4,000 offer inside of a 1.2 million $4,000 offer? No. And the reason why is because I'm in the business of running an agency. And once a business gets that big, they're not looking for coaching. They're not looking for someone to hold their hand. They just want someone to do it. And so this is where I cut off my agency program or my coaching program right here. I'm not going to build a program that's higher than 1K a month, because I know that anyone that's interested in a program, they're only going to be interested in a program that actually does the work for them, right? They'll collaborate with me on it. They'll be interested in how it's built, but they're not going to be the kind of person to show up to coaching sessions, which is the principle of a coaching program. I'll take a little break here just to mention, when I'm thinking about these coaching programs, I am thinking about these in the group format, not on one-on-one. That I cannot tell you how big of a money trap it is to fall into one-on-ones at a low ticket level. If you want to offer one-on-ones, you need to remember two things. The first thing is that you need to limit the capacity to only what you enjoy doing, right? One-on-ones are incredibly exhausting to do, not because it's, the people are exhausting to work with it by any means. They're exhausting because you have to give your full attention to somebody for a fixed period of time, week after week or every other week or once a month, however often you're meeting with them. And you have to remember all the little nooks and crannies of their business. And they're counting on you to do that because they're hiring you to work with them one-on-one. And so that all comes with it. So it's an incredible amount you have to keep track of and remember. And when you're dealing with a lot of clients, that can quickly become overwhelming and create a plateau that you can't break through. So if you are going to include one-on-one coaching or consulting, you have to charge a mint for it, and you have to limit the amount. The way to think about one-on-one coaching is that you should be charging exactly what you want to make per hour, and not a penny less. And you should limit it to a specific number of spots, because that gives you the ability to talk about scarcity and say, there's only 5 spots in my coaching program. Right now, there's only 1 left. So if you want to sign up, you got to sign up now. And 2, it makes sure that if you are doing one-on-one, you are getting paid a mint, and you don't have to take a bunch of clients at that level. So you can really give those few clients you have all of your attention. Huge mistake going low ticket or even mid ticket one-on-one coaching. That is high ticket. I would almost say at this top tier, above this top tier level. Like you need people that can afford even more than $1,000 a month. Ideally, you're looking at like $2,500 to $3,000 a month in any of those fields if you really want to do one-on-one coaching or consulting. And some people will do it. Like, that seems like a lot of money to pay someone for one-on-one attention. But there are people that do the math and say, tapping into this person's service is going to get me so far ahead. They're going to bring so much value into my life that I will absolutely pay that. And so I know when people used to say that to me when I was just starting out, I was like, you're absolutely out of your mind. And now I have clients that pay me that much per month for these services. And I get it, because the value I'm bringing in, I'm shortcutting them from being able to figure this stuff out over the course of a year to being able to figure this stuff out over the course of a couple of weeks. And so that has a tremendous amount of value for clients. Now, does that mean every client's going to pay that? No, most clients are going to go for the agency services, which is why I draw the line right here. And I don't want to have coaching or consulting services that people can sign up for just willy-nilly. I will take one-on-one clients as my schedule dictates, and if I'm really interested in working with the person. We've signed some one-on-one clients recently I really enjoy working with. And so I was willing to either work with them on the price, or they were just willing to pay the price I asked. And because of that, we have a very good working relationship. But I'm not overloaded with those. To date, I think I have probably less than 10 one-on-one clients today. My clients either are in the agency bucket or they're in the coaching bucket. The majority of them are. Okay. So now we have the 2 buckets or 3 buckets. So we're going to include the low ticket offer on here. So let's scroll down here. And we're going to say that our 3 tiers are going to be $99 a month. It's going to be $500 a month. Or actually, I'll do, just to be the marketer, I'll do $499 a month. And then the top tier is going to be $997 a month. Now, here's one of the challenges that I've yet to really crack. But I'll tell you, just because I think it's an interesting brain puzzle to stick with. If you look up the people that talk about how to use tiers effectively in a business, a lot of people will talk about having a multiplier effect, tier to tier. It gives people a sense of place, a sense of purpose, and it creates a funneling effect that pushes people into the middle. Because ideally, you want most of your clients at this tier. This tier you need to design to be your most profitable tier. The least amount of your time, the most impact on the client, and the most clients should be in it. So this realistically should be like 80% of your clients are in this. Up here, we want about 5% of your total clients. And then down here, we want about 15% of your total clients. All right. Now you could invert the other two if you want to do more high ticket, but this is how it usually breaks out for people. And this is the percentage sign. That's not a 6, by the way. So knowing that 80% of the people in here are going to be in this $497 or $499 price point, I meant to do this as 9. Keep it consistent. Knowing that most people are going to be in this $499 price point, that's usually where I start designing. Here's the hang up I have, and here's the thing I haven't even figured this out yet, and I've tried a couple different things, but I'll talk to you those in a minute here. I like having that multiplier effect. I like having the exponential kind of increase in value. It doesn't work here though, because you start with 99, then you multiply by 5 to get to 499, then you multiply by 2 to get to 999. You're like, oh, well, that's an easy problem to fix. Well, just divide 499 in half, and then it fixes the problem. Okay, but that's 249. And remember what we said. Once you get below that threshold of someone who can afford 499, incredibly hard to predict where their tolerances are going to be, right? And so if you want to make sure that you're booking enough people at that low ticket to cover your ad spend and just provide you a little bit of cushion, you can't price it at 250 necessarily. Also, 250 is kind of a weird number. It's too high for an impulse buy, but it's too low to feel like I'm really investing in something that's going to work. And so it's this very odd kind of sense of like, do I really want to risk it? Do I really want to try to do this? Or is it just not going to be worth my effort? Okay, so let's say, let's go the other direction. Well, if we can't do it that way, then we just need to go upwards and multiply the 499 by 5. Okay, that seems simple. That gets you to 2,500 a month. 2,500 a month is an agency level service, right? Most people are not going to pay the 2,500. Some people will, but you're also going to be trapped at a certain scale where it's like, okay, so if you do this at $2,500 a month, right? So let's just we'll do a little bit. Let's say you do like at $24.99, again, doing the marketing speak here, $24.99 a month. And this is going to be where you do all your one-on-ones. Well, how many people are you gonna cap out at this, right? So say you only want to spend, let's say, 4 hours a week doing this, one client a day. Okay, that's fine. That's 10K a month roughly, because you're doing this times 4, and that's your 10K. All right, that's great. Well, that's only 5. That then it consists of 5% of your people is just those 4 people, and that takes up 4 hours of your time each week. Well, now you have this coaching program, which, if you follow my model, is going to take up roughly like 3 or 4 hours of your week. And then you have the 99, which is taking up the same amount of time as the 499. That all seems to make sense. But if someone's paying you $499 or $24.99, they're expecting a whole lot more than just to meet with you. For most people, right? They're expecting services in addition to what they're paying you for, right? They're expecting other things. Not everybody. Again, some people will look at this and go like, no, you know what? For your expertise, that's totally fair. But a lot of people will be like, well, if I'm spending that much money on it, I need to get more than just, you talking to me, right? Like that there has to be some level of implementation. And this is what we call the implementation trap. You get your price too high to a point where people start looking at it, and then they look at alternatives and they say, well, the alternatives include implementation. Think of a personal trainer, right? Say a personal trainer is following this same plan. There is a personal trainer who in my area who charges around $600 a month, but they charge that for the one-on-one training. If she was to move that down and say, well, I want to, I'm going to charge twice that. If I'm going to charge $1,000 a month for that, she'll probably still get people. There'll still be enough people to come in and do that. However, now she has to look and say, well, what about my group coaching programs? Are there enough people to actually support this program if I'm offering this? because a lot of people will come into a program like this. They'll see you have group program offerings and they'll be like, oh, well, I really wanted to work with you one-on-one. They'll see the price point and they'll go, oh, well, I don't have that. And because they've now locked on to this idea of working with you one-on-one, when it comes to the group programs, they're not even interested. So this is the problem with going too high up, is like, you can do consulting, but if you are giving people the choice, if you're walking them through the programs, if you're giving them an option and you're anchoring them to that experience of working with you one-on-one and they can't afford the price, you're going to lose the sale. Versus if everything is group coaching and they feel like that's the only way to really get access to you in an accessible way, besides going and hiring someone to do the service for them, then they'll be much more likely to stick around and pick one of the plans that fits them better in terms of their price. So that's the challenge. So the pricing, I'm not in love with this pricing, because I really like the $99. I really like the $9.97 because, again, we did the math. We know that's going to be about affordable. It still leaves enough budget on the table for them to go and spend money on. But I don't like the division here. So we gotta figure that out. That's part of this process, is like, well, is that value correct? Do I need to raise that value? Does it need to be something more like this? And I'll show you my favorite pricing scheme of all time. And this is the pricing we actually started with after we moved from the single plan model, which was just $99 a month, to a 3-tier model. This was the pricing we used. So I'll just draw a line here just to keep them separate. So we used $99, we used $199, and we used $399. And that's really how we scaled to 6 figures. That is the exact pricing model. So if you're looking for a pricing model, just use that. It works phenomenally well. And again, it works great because people can see the duplication of value. $199 is twice $99. It's 4 times $399. $399 is twice $199. And again, it's not exact, but people make the jump that, okay, that's almost $200, but it doesn't feel like $200 because it's $199, and this is twice the value. This works fantastic. It's well balanced. You can balance these services very easily. But when you get to this breakdown up top, very, very hard. Very, very hard to figure out where that balance is. So that's the first thing you have to think of, is if you're going to do something that's mid or high ticket, it's like, well, are you going to cut off this and say, I'm not going to do a low ticket program at all, and essentially eliminate this part of the market and say, you know what, this part of the market can just buy other low ticket offerings I do. Maybe they buy workshops or seminars or on-demand courses or something. And you're going to separate that out from your coaching program entirely. And then add to it, we'll just do this. We'll just change this real quick. So instead, your low ticket becomes $497, your mid ticket becomes $997, and then your top ticket becomes, again, we're doing multiples of 2. So if we go $497 to $997, then this would become, or did I do that backwards earlier? Oh, I guess I did. It doesn't change the fact I don't know where that other number came from, but I did the math wrong. This is like 1.8K per month. Right? Because it's doubling. It's doubling this to that. Oh, I remember, because I was doing the 5 times. If it's 5 times here, then it has to be 5 times there. Got it. But if we do this, now we have to double. So now we can bring this price down by about $600. That's cool. So that's, for some people, that's going to be really helpful. But it's still pretty high. It's still reaching up there. And again, $1,800 a month. If you're seeing them 4 times a month, that is going to be $450. Let's say you're meeting for an hour. That's $450 an hour. Now, say they also have access to the group coaching sessions. Well, here's what I learned about that. When you're doing one-on-one, the group coaching sessions, have zero value, because the people that are doing one-on-one don't really come to the group coaching sessions. They just don't. Some people do. It's not all of them. The lion's share of people who will work with you one-on-one are not going to have any interest, and they're not assigning any value to that. So what they're looking at is this number right here. They're saying, I'm paying $450 an hour to meet with them 4 times a month. That's, again, if that's how many times you're meeting. Now, obviously, you could cut that in half, and you could say, well, I'm going to meet with you twice a week, and now it's going to be $225 an hour. That's a little bit more attainable, but still, $450 an hour is a lot of money for people at this level. And when they're comparing spending $1,800 here, and they still need their ad spend. Remember, this is not their whole budget. This is why marketing coaching and marketing related coaching businesses, where it's copy editing, copywriting, what have you, why this is such a hard thing to price, because you can't just say it's the value. You have to take into account the other things they're going to have to do. You have to take into account what other services they're going to provide. So you have to figure all this stuff out on your own in terms of your own market. I can't, if you come into one of my programs, if you sign up, you want help developing your offer, we can go into this for your case specifically, but you have to think about all these considerations about how you want to structure this. Here's how I'm thinking about it for my business. This is where I was first thinking. This top row, right? But this whole thing about things not being balanced did drive me crazy, right? I didn't like that. I liked when I had this. Problem is, this is not profitable, right? You can't run a business like this when you're giving at $3.99, you're giving people access to you multiple times a month. And if you do less than 4 times a month, once a week, your retention becomes even harder. Twice a week is easy, but if you're meeting twice a week, you have to give them extra time. You can't just meet for an hour. Otherwise, people start falling off at that price point. You can't do once a month. Don't ever do once a month coaching, one-on-one coaching. It's destined to fail. I've tried it 15 different ways. I've seen other people try it. I've never seen one person be able to get away with once a month coaching. It's not enough touch points. It's not enough FaceTime to make a high ticket coaching program work. So forget it. So we can't do this. I don't like this. So what do? We do this. This is what we're going to do. However, knowing that we need to do that, knowing that this is the direction we need to move, now we have to figure out, well, how are we going to create these values? And now some people go about this the other way. They put all the things on the board that they want to do for a client, and they, here's all the things, and I'm going to shuffle things into this category. I'm going to shuffle things into that category and all of that. And then I'm going to come up with a value. I don't like that, because it doesn't address the actual needs and responsibilities of the people you're trying to serve. Like, people have house payments, people have car payments, people have to pay employees. I'd rather start, if you're in the business space, if you're in the wealth creation space, looking at what they're actually spending now, what size businesses I'm going after, and then tailoring it to them. So remember, if we go down, I'm just going to create kind of a new section here. I'm going to do some cleanup. A little bit of cleanup here. Actually, I'll just do this. We'll just move down one more bit, and I'll just redraw these. So we got 497, we got 997, and we got 18. Or actually, I'm going to make this 1997. Okay. And again, 80% of my clients I want in this bucket. Okay. I want 15% in this bucket. And I want 5% in this bucket. So now, first thing I want to think about is, what are my goals for the overall capacity? And the reason I'm thinking about this first, instead of thinking about all the things I could do for them, is important because I know from doing this that I can only take a certain number of people in this program and have all of those people be successful, right? And it's a low number, which is why I'm raising the prices on this program. I can't offer the same level of service to 500 people at this price point by myself. I just can't. I'd have to hire other coaches, which is something I don't particularly like doing. I've only ever hired one coach that I really liked, and I didn't even really get to hire him because he left to take a great job as a CMO. Thanks a lot, Greg. But Greg was great. I mean, Greg was the closest thing to a marketing coach that I really enjoyed working with, that we saw eye to eye. We saw the value we were trying to bring. And we shared the same goals of where we want to take this program. Most marketers I talk to either want to just sit quietly and do marketing, or they want to do the flashy marketing that I'm just not really into, right? I'm into authentic marketing that works. That's kind of my thing. So if you want to do flashy Lambo marketing, we're not going to get along. And if you just want to sit quietly, well, coaching isn't the right avenue for you, right? Like a desk job is going to be much better. So knowing that, how many people can I realistically take? Well, here's what I know. When you're running a group coaching program, you need to account to make people really satisfied at a high ticket level. You need to be able to dedicate 7 to 10 minutes per person per session that comes in. So here's the math on that. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit here, and I'll just do it down here at the bottom. So let's just use 10 because it's easier, and that way we'll get less people and we'll kind of know what our low water mark is. So we're going to use 10 minutes per person, and we're going to do a 90-minute call. Easy math, guys, right? It's 9 people. Okay. Now here's the thing. Usually you're going to get a number of people that don't show up per session. Now that percentage of that changes, but it's still relatively high. It's usually between 30 and 50%. So I'm going to use, because I went high on the amount of time I'm going to spend, I'm going to go low on the number of people that show up, and I'm going to say 50% show up rate, which means I can do this. Oh, times 10. I don't think so. I can do 9 times, what did I just say? 2, 50%. So that gets me 18 people. Right? So now I know that in my group sessions, I can serve 18 people per session, right? Now, here's my next question. Well, how many sessions do I have to provide? Well, I do 3 a week. I do 3 a week, and then I do a session that's specifically for members of the Heartbeat platform. So shout out to Heartbeat. If you join Heartbeat or you're a member of Heartbeat and you haven't come checked out our Friday sessions, make sure you do it. But for my regular clients, they can come and see me Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And it's a 90-minute session. And again, because I'm looking at the 18 number, I'm saying I can have 18 people that are signed up for these sessions. And as long as half of the people show up, then I'm golden. However, I also have to do the math of, well, 18 people. I mean, if I do the math up here, if it'll let me scroll, I think it's doing the weird scroll thing again. Let's see. Come on. Let me scroll down, not scroll up. Oh, well, that didn't work at all. I don't know what that was about. There we go. Okay, I think it just gets sticky sometimes. So again, if we're looking at this breakdown and we're saying, 5%, well, the quick math here is that 10% of these would be roughly 2 people. So 5% is like 1 person. So I have 1 person at this level, and then I have 15%, well, 1.5 people. So let's say there's 2 people at this level, and then 80% of people, well, that's going to be the rest of them. That's going to be your 15 right here. Okay, so let's do the math on that real quick. I'm going to actually pull out a calculator for this because I'm not going to make you suffer through me trying to figure this out in real time. So let's see here. All right. So easy math, right? We got 2 by 497 plus 15 times 997 plus 1997, right? That's it. You're making 18 grand a month. Now, for some of you out there, you're like, sweet, 18 people, 18 grand a month. Sounds great. Sounds like it works. And you know what? If that's all you need, to make this program work, fantastic. So let's look at those numbers. We'll just say this is 18 people, 18K MRR. Great. Here's what you're not taking into account. Out of that 18 grand, you have to pay for your advertising costs. Advertising a high ticket program is expensive. You might have to do multiple ads. You got to do sales calls, which take up time on your calendar. You have to do a little bit of content marketing to build your authority out there. So that's, promoting those kind of posts and getting that stuff produced costs money. You have to hire people to edit your videos because you're going to do sales calls all the time. So you can't be editing videos and jumping on sales calls and doing coaching. Like, you have to start delegating, especially if you're planning on making this kind of money every month. I mean, like, let's face it, like $18K a month, if you divide that out, or not divide that out, if you extrapolate that to a year, it's $215,000 a year. You can't expect to make $215,000 all on your own, like, unless you're going to work yourself to death, which, let's face it, you didn't enter this business because you wanted to work yourself to death. You entered it because you wanted something that you could kind of collect some mailbox money and have a nice life and not be stressed out and help people and all of those things. If you're working all the time, then why not just have a job with benefits, right? It's not the entrepreneurial dream. So, this number is going to quickly shrink. And I think for me, I try to keep a minimum of 50K margins, right? So that means when all my bills are paid for the business, this becomes 9K, right? That's subsistence living, man. Like, that is, at least in my neck of the woods, having a family of 3 for all the bills we have to pay, like, I'm barely getting ahead with that. Like, it's enough, but again, my wife doesn't work, so I need to provide 2 incomes. 9K a month is less than $120,000 a year, right? That's rough. I mean, I know people do it, but it's definitely going to make life a lot less pleasant and a lot more stressful, and I'm going to feel the need to work more hours. If I work more hours, I'm more tired, more stressed, less apt to serve my clients. I have to take more clients. I have to take more additional work because I can't just afford to live off of $120,000 a year. And so it's this vicious cycle of, now the program starts losing its luster and it starts not becoming worth it. And then you lose clients. And that's not the goal. The goal is to retain clients for as long as possible, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's what makes this a valuable program, is to keep people around for a while. Pricing is a big component of that. If people don't feel like they're getting $1,000 a month value from you, they're going to leave. So we need to figure out what these numbers actually look like in terms of what are we going to put in here? If we're only making, if we only have 18 people in here, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to reduce the margins? How are we going to increase the number of the amount of revenue from that? So instead of 9K, we're making more. Or the other thing is, how do we make this number bigger? Okay. So here's my thinking. First thing is that if I'm doing 3 sessions a week, well, I could make one of those sessions only for these people, right? So the first thing they get is they get 1 session, group session per week. Okay. So that makes this obviously more valuable, because for this one, I could do 2 sessions a week. And you know what? I could even say you can come to the 3rd session. So maybe it's 2 or 3 sessions a week for this. And then for this, I could say, well, they're not going to be interested in the group sessions anyway. I can say they can come to the 3 sessions, knowing full well, probably not going to come to any of the sessions. It's a safe bet. I've been doing this long enough that I know someone's in the one-on-one, they're probably not coming. Or if they're come, it's like, hey, nice to see you. Am I seeing you again on Wednesday? They have a quick question, and it's in and done. Okay, so we have this coming on. Let's just change this to 3 sessions, okay? All right. Now, one of the big components of what my program offers that separates it from all the other programs out there is that we include creative services and we include technical support. And those things are really important for both of the for all of these programs. It's an important piece of the puzzle to have something that is a tangible thing that can push them forward. Information's great, but if you don't have the tools, if you don't have the things, if you don't have the assets to move those ideas forward, it becomes a big roadblock. And this is the problem I ran into. And if you go watch the previous episode, I talk about it. I didn't like the fact that someone would give me money and I would turn around a week later and ask for more money because they needed to do a website or they needed to do something else. So for this, I need to balance providing enough agency services at this tier so that my agency clients don't look at this and go, well, I should have just signed up for this. This is a way better deal. I get more for my money in this. Okay. So what are we going to do? Right. Well, let's think about the actual needs of people at these levels. Well, the first thing is branding. A lot of times people either at this level, they had maybe a starter logo. They don't love their logo. Maybe their logo is kind of inconsistent or their brand use is inconsistent. So I think there's a branding package I could put together that has like a brand guide, and we could template that out and we could grab their logo. And if they don't have it in the right format, EPS format, we can create an EPS version, and we can standardize their colors, and we can create all the assets for them for social. All of those are relatively like low cost things that I can do, but they're going to make a huge difference for them. If they were to go and buy those services retail, they would pay a fortune for them. I'm buying them wholesale. I don't have to pay nearly as much because they don't run an agency. They don't get that benefit. So, but I can provide that benefit. So great. So we'll do branding at these three, and we'll tuck that in as one of the services, right? And then what else can we give them here? Well, we already know it at this top level, and I'm just going to make these numbers a little smaller. So 2, 1, 15. I'm just going to do a little line to separate this stuff out. There we go. So one-on-one sessions. How many one-on-one sessions are we going to give at the 1997 level? Well, I think 4 is fair. I think 4 45-minute sessions is fair for that price point. So we're going to do 4 times 45. And then we have 0 sessions here, and we have 0 sessions here, right? Because we're not going to, this is meant for, these two are really just group programs. They're not meant to be that thing. They're not meant to be the one-on-one program. So I'm going to take those off. Great. And you might be thinking, well, wouldn't it make more sense to do 2 here and 1 here? Here's why I don't do it. For most people, bi-weekly meetings don't work. And the reason it doesn't work is because when you're in a program like this, people are counting on you that signed up for a one-on-one to help push them forward. And they're not going to do the work. They're not going to do as much work as you think they're going to do. And so you're going to get kind of stuck in this cycle of you come into the one-on-one, they haven't completed the work from last week. So you spend the one-on-one doing that work, then assigning the next week's work. That doesn't really work when you stretch it out to a 4-week plan. Because remember, part of what they're counting on you to do is help implementing when they're booking a one-on-one coaching program with you. Is there help? They need help with the implementation. If they didn't need help, they would have opted for one of the lower ticket programs. So knowing that, we can't go and offer bi-weeklies, because if we offer bi-weeklies, we're going to get people who in their mind think, oh yeah, that'll work. It'll give me 2 weeks to do it. But they're not going to make those changes. And then what's going to happen is you're going to get in this downward spiral where they don't feel like they're making enough progress, and they're not willing to come to the group sessions because, again, they're paying for one-on-one, and then they're just going to cancel. And I speak from experience. Like, all of this, none of this is conjecture. This is how my business has evolved over time. These are all the hard lessons. So if you guys aren't like, don't think that I'm just like making this stuff up. This is actually what we've gone through as we've changed prices and changed programs. So this is 100% the truth. The monthly, like I said earlier, is a terrible, never run monthly one-on-ones. It doesn't work. People forget that they're there, then they want to reschedule them. And then it becomes this whole albatross that you have to deal with because people don't get into monthly habits like that, right? It's just not something that, people have a hard time showing up for, like probationary check-ins. It's hard enough for people to do that. You can't expect someone to show up for a marketing thing that they signed up for. And, again, because they're in this one-on-one, they're thinking, well, I'll just get everything done in the one-on-one. I'm not going to come to the group sessions. And they don't show up to the one-on-one. So they get no value out of this thing. So you can't do that. So that's why I'm only offering those at the high ticket level. The other reason, it goes back to what I said earlier. I don't want to work with a bunch of people. I want to work with very few people. And I want to make those people that do show up, like, I want that experience to be really valuable. So now here's the thing. What this now does is if I look at this and I say, okay, well, these people at the 1997 aren't going to show up for the group. Chances are. That means I can increase this number by a bit. So let's increase this number just to make it easier, right? So this now becomes from 18K to 18.5K. And let's say the 50% margins are consistent, then that's 9.25K per month. Cool. Well, what else can we offer them that's going to help them, kind of on their journey? Well, one thing that we do is we provide every person with a CRM. So we're a high-level agency, so we provide everyone with a license to high level, and we don't charge anything for it. That's a super valuable piece of software. That's like $100 worth of value. So immediately, the $497, that's like a fifth of that value right off the bat. So we'll say free GHL. But now here's the difference. At the 497 level, this is self-setup. We'll provide videos of how to do it, but you got to set it up yourself. At the middle ticket, we'll give you templates. And at the top tier, we'll actually do it for you. And you look at that and you go, makes total sense. Here's why that's not going to work. Because at that low tier, when someone's coming in, if you've never been in GHL is a massive program. It's huge. It is an enterprise grade piece of software. It's most people, when we tell them we're giving it to them free, they're like, no way. Like, you're just giving that away. And it's like, yeah, because it's really helpful. It has a lot of features built in. And, if you guys are interested, you can reach out to me and I'll give you all the bells and whistles on Go High Level. But the point is that self-setup is never going to be an option. It's never going to be an option because the amount of time I've invested building templates that work with the system we teach, the marketing system that we take people through, would take them years to put together if they don't have the knowledge, right? And I'm not going to give them the maps, right? This is self-setup. I give you the platform, you have to do it yourself. Tried this, it failed. So what does that mean? Well, what that means is I now have to include templates at this level too. So we have to do templates here. And then what about here? Do we keep those templates the same? Well, I guess we could do that. We could keep those the same. Well, what about this done for you thing? I don't want to do done for you because done for you should be reserved to agency. So what this is going to be is this is going to be done with you. Okay. So on those 4 sessions, we can go over your setup and I'll work with you and we can do some copywriting and we can do all that fun stuff on the call. I'm not going to go out of my way to go and do stuff off the call. But if that's how you want to spend your call, we can spend your call. Otherwise, if you're at the group program, you're going to get a template. You can bring stuff to me to review. That's perfectly fine. You can show me, hey, this is what I'm kind of thinking. But at the end of the day, those group sessions are not meant for me to go and do the physical work, right? Now, here's so all that said, we're starting to pare down what I'm doing on those calls. Because right now it's like people come in, I write them sales letters, I do all of this stuff. And that's all great, but it's hard to scale that because I can't have more than 18 people in that program. And realistically, I need to double that. I need about 30 people to really make it so that I have a consistent enough experience for people that they can come in, get help, and that everything's just so systematized and streamlined that when someone's coming on those calls, they're asking really insightful questions. And because they're asking those really insightful questions during our time together, that means that they're able to progress beyond those sessions. So they're not just waiting for the next session for me to do stuff for them. And that's a pivot that I've been trying to make over the past couple months. And as people have naturally left the program and new people have joined, I've made that a bigger point that, listen, I will do some stuff for you. I'll give you examples, but I'm not going to do everything for you, because part of coaching is you doing it yourself. Otherwise, you should pay for the agency services. So now that we're getting rid of that, the math here changes a little bit, right? So now I actually think I can do 30 people, right? Instead of 18. Now, why 30? 30 seems kind of arbitrary. Why didn't you just double it and say 36? Well, the software I use has a 30-person limit. I never want to book. I'm not an airline, right? I don't want to sell more seats than I have. Even though I know that not all 30 people are going to show up, I want to make it so that if everybody does show up for a session, I have plenty of seats available, that I don't have to turn anybody away. But then you got to think, okay, well, if it's a 30-minute session, if there's 30 people in a session, how are you going to give them 300 minutes each? That's a lot of time, right? So like, let's figure out what that actually looks like. I think that's going to be, it's not 5 hours, is it? Let's see. 30 people. Let's see. 30 people times 10 minutes divided by 60. Oh, times 60. That's the wrong thing. Divided by 60. That's 5 hours. So that's not doable. We can't do 10 minutes. But what if we did half of that, right? Well, now we're at 2.5 hours. Okay, that's getting better. If I know that on these sessions that I have a little bit of flex, and I know that for most of these sessions, not everybody's going to show up. And if people show up, they're not all going to have questions, and not everybody's question is going to be as long. I could say, well, 30 people are going to be in the session. Only a fraction of those are going to show up. And again, let's like do the math here, right? So, I didn't mean to do that. All right, so we're gonna have 30 people here, and so all we're going to do is increase this in relativity to all this stuff. So 5% of this is, again, going to be 1.5 people. So this now becomes 2 people. And then 15% of this is then going to become, let's see, that's 3 and 1 of 4.5. So this is going to become 5 people. Oh, that was a 4. Good job. 5 people. And this is going to be 7 people, which means I can have 23 people at this core level. Now watch what this does to the numbers. I always love doing this because it's fascinating how these little tweaks can change your whole coaching program overnight. So now we have 5 times $497 for the low ticket. And then we have plus 23 times $997 plus 2 times $1997. Okay. It's almost 30 grand a month. That's a good high ticket coaching program. That is a good take. You go over the course of a year with 30 grand, this is what you're looking at. You're making more than some doctors. $352,000 a year. Now, let's think about it this way. This is only one of your revenue streams, right? When you get this thing up and running, realistically, how much time are you spending? You're spending maybe 8 hours serving this audience, maybe, right? If you're really going above and beyond. That's 1 day a week. That leaves you 4 entire days of the week to do entirely other big. You can do a workshop model. You can do a super low ticket, like Laurel Porty's $7 program. You could do you could just take the week off. The rest of the week off. You could do all of your sessions in the first 3 days of the week if you're doing 3 sessions like this, and then take the entire do a 3-day work week. Works fine. You'll have enough time in those 3 days you work to do sales calls and to see your one-on-ones and all of that stuff. You won't need to work all those days. So that little tweak of saying, well, listen, if I'm not doing as much for them, I can shrink that time, increases the amount of people you can take without taking away the value. right? It's all about structuring these so that people feel empowered to do this stuff on their own and you guiding them. And that's the next part we got to talk about. So in all of these, we've talked about, so far we've given them these free things, these additions to the piece. And you know what? I want to add a couple other things just to make this more valuable. So the first thing is I'm going to say this comes with 1 video edit a month. And that's part of our process is video ads. So that makes sense. And then this is going to be 2 videos a month. And this is going to be 4 videos a month. And I know what you're thinking, like, well, aren't we dipping our toes into agency services? Yes, that's what makes our program different, is that we are giving some agency services included in this program, because if I was just teaching them, these prices would not work, because they can go out and hire a $500 marketing agency who's probably not going to do a good job, and they're not going to teach them any of this stuff, and they're not going to get any assets, and they're not going to make any progress with them, but they still is out there. So I have that to compete with. So I need to give them some kind of tangible that's more than just information. This can't just be an informational product. There has to be a tangible. And templates and swipe files only go so far, I'm telling you. So let's, I'm just going to erase this at the bottom. So we just know that we're now going after 30 people, and we're looking to have a gross revenue of 300, what was that? 312 grand. 352 grand. So, net, you're netting $175,000. You know what? If for a family of 2 people, I could be pretty happy if that was the only money I was making. I'd be pretty happy with that number. Again, is it as much money as I want? No, of course, everybody wants more money, but it's enough to where I wouldn't be worrying about when if I was going to be able to make bill payments. It's enough to cover us. It's enough to put a little bit away for retirement. It's enough to pay taxes. Remember, out of that net, you also have to pay 40% in taxes. So that's going to even bring it down even further. So this is still not like easy street by any means. But again, it gets you there. It gets you closer to the goal. So now we have these programs running right now. So we have the 1, 2, 3 videos a month. Well, here's the next part of the process. What most people really need is they need a landing page, right? And this is something that people really get stuck on, because they have really bad websites and they're bad for optimization. And the cost for me to go in and try to fix that page would be tremendous, because I don't know how the thing is built. I don't know the platform. So I can't do that. So, but I can include a level of this. I can't do the whole thing, but I can include part of this. So what I could do is I could say, well, I'm going to teach you how to write the landing page. So you're going to create the copy. I'm going to proof the copy, maybe punch it up a little bit, give you direction for how you want to put the page together. And then once you have it all together, we could design a 1-page lander. So for this page, for $4.97 a month, we'll give you a 1-page lander. And then for this one, we'll do a 2-page funnel. And for this, we'll do a 3-page funnel. And now you're looking at this and you're going, well, geez, that's going to cut into your revenue, isn't that? That's a lot of, if you have 5 clients at that level and they all need a website at the same time, that's going to eat into your margins, isn't it? It could, but I'm not going to have everybody need the website right away. They're going to be spread out, right? We'll sign they're only 15% of the total market. So that one group is not going to be enough to take down my budget. At the $9.97 level, I have a good amount of margin there, right? If I'm at 50% each month, that means $400 can go towards those services. That's more than enough for me to produce a simple 2-page funnel once. I'm not doing it every month. I'm just doing it once for their service. So I think that's pretty good. And then, once you get above a 3-page funnel, realistically, man, I mean, that's an agency service. You're looking to build a whole website. You're already paying $2,000 a month. I can throw in a 3-page funnel. That's not a big deal. Again, we're going to write it together on the session. So I'm not going out and hiring a writer. I don't have that cost. And the design is something we're going to review during our calls. So is that going to cut into what my hourly rate is? Yes. Is it going to cut in that severely? No. Is it going to cut in for a long period of time? No. We'll probably get it done within like 30 or 60 days. And then that cost is gone forever. And as long as that client stays, which they're more likely to because I've given them the assets they need to succeed, it's still profitable. So these are all the kind of machinations that I'm going through in my brain when I'm putting this out. It's like, how much is 4 videos a month going to cost me? How much does that bring down the margin? Okay, it only brings it down, say, $100. I'm just pulling that number out of the air. Well, that's still okay. I still have $1,800 month over month. The funnel, okay, that will take it down for a month, but then it'll be back up the next month. So the next thing I want to look at is, well, there's the tangibles, there's all these things, but what are the other elements that I can throw in here? What are the intangibles? Well, part of my process is ad scripting. Part of my process is offer development. Part of my process is the web page optimization, right? And part of my process is the ad management side. Now, ad management is out, right? Because that if I do that for any of these groups, then it essentially makes my agency program null and void, and I don't want that, right? I can't grow this enough to make enough revenue to justify that kind of thing. So instead, we'll do done with you ad management, where you're still responsible for setting it up, but I'll look at it with you. The lower tier will be self-guided ad management, as will the middle tier, self-guided. So they can still come into the sessions and we can still review it. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit there and walk them through, here's how you do it, right? I'm trusting that you have Google, you can go look up a video on YouTube of like, here's what you need to do. And again, this makes sense because if I'm trying to make the coaching sessions about getting people unstuck about answering those questions and not physically providing services, then that really puts me more in the place of a consultant rather than a service provider, which is where I want most of my clients to be. That's how I want them to use my service, is as that person that's going to give them the information that helps them get unstuck and empowers them to do this stuff themselves, right? So the next thing was the ad scripting. Well, I've thought about this a lot, and I think here's how I'm going to solve this problem. I have a formula that works really well for ads, and me sitting down and writing ads, I do have fun doing that. Like if you've ever been to one of my group sessions, you will see I sit down and I write ads. Like I wrote one this morning. Like I'll actually show you. So hold on. Let me see how I can figure this out. Let's see here. We'll do this, and then we'll do, let's see if I can get this pulled up. I'll give you guys a little preview of something I'm cooking up. I'm going to be doing a new workshop here in a couple weeks, probably by the time I get it up and running. And it's going to be some sales training. It's going to be a sales training web workshop. And I will show you this. So I wrote this in about 30 minutes, copy edit it. It's like, it's done. I'm ready to record it. I just need a little bit of time to actually like sit down and record it. So here's what that looks like. Okay, here we go. So here's the script, right? So I wrote all that in like 30 minutes and proofed it. And like, I'm pretty sure it's going to convert. And the reason I'm pretty sure it's going to convert is because I have a formula for how these things are written that works very well. That's reliable. That system means that I can teach an AI how to mimic my style and get a client 80% of the way there. And this goes back to something I said earlier, which is AI is phenomenal. AI is an unbelievably powerful tool. However, it is terrible at certain things. It is terrible of getting you 100% of the way there. It's just not going to do it. It's just not capable of taking something and giving it to you that's perfect first time out. I mean, yeah, of course, there's the odds of you actually reading it and being like, oh no, it's perfect. It's out there. But most of the time, it's going to need some finessing. And that's the kind of work I could do in the sessions. I'm not going to sit there for 30 minutes and hash out an entire script like I did this morning for myself. But I can go through a script and say, yeah, I like this, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. Here, change this, populate this with your information kind of thing, and send people back out. So we're going to say AI-powered script writing. AI-powered script. And then this is going to be human script. Okay. So now we have the AI-powered script is going to be the essentially like me sitting down and writing out some code into one of our bot programs, or not code, but like prompting it and saying this, training it on all of my ads that have worked in the past, explaining its structure. And it's probably going to take like 10 hours of my time to like sit down and get it. Luckily, I have a team member who's helping me with a lot of this stuff, so that's good. I'll take some time off my plate. But once it's done and good, it'll be able to produce, again, 80% of the way their content. 100%? Probably not. But 80%? Absolutely. So I can now use this as a kicking off point for that. Now, one of the harder pieces is the website content, because the website content, a little bit squirrely. However, if I'm only doing a 1, 2, and 3 page funnel, let's think about this a little bit. In a 1-page funnel, it's probably going to be like a call booking funnel, right? So it's something like mypersonaltaxpro.com or overnight auditors, which I talked about on previous episodes, which are, these are 1-page websites designed to capture leads. That's all they do, is you go there and you chat with a bot, it captures your leads, and you move on with your day. Fantastic. Works great. So 1-page, very easy to write, very easy to structure, very easy to tell a bot, these are the things I want on the page. This is the structure I want it to follow. So that's not too hard. So I could do AI-powered website copy. And if I continue with the theme, I could do AI-powered website copy. And this is human copy. Human website copy. A little curly Q there. Okay. All right. So I have now I have those two things. Now, if I go back to the core methodology that I do offer development like one-on-one, and I work people through the process of like, figuring out what their offer is and what that offer should be and how it should be structured. Maybe I could do that via AI, but I'm not 100% sure, because right now that process is a deeply creative, collaborative, me asking questions. We open a Word doc, we mess around, we try different things, we talk about the different angles and positioning. And so a lot of that is just part of what we do. But again, I can't spend 10, 15 minutes with each person inside this program that we're writing doing all that, right? Because then it undercuts my agency program, which I want people to buy. I want people to pay for the agency program. And if my agency program is going to start at $2,500, let's say that's the first tier of the agency moving forward, I really can't put in that kind of effort to put all this stuff together if the person that's paying the $19.97 a month is going to get all that stuff free anyway, right? It doesn't work. It's gonna mess with the calculations people are doing when they're considering whether to do a coaching or whether to do an agency program. So how do we solve for this? Well, I think there's two things we can do here. I think the first thing we can do is we can say for the people at the low ticket, we could have something where we use AI to generate a initial like persona guide. So there's an idea. So we have this like, you know, AI persona guide. And we could do that. We could do that at we could actually do that at all the levels, right? So AI persona. Okay, but that doesn't really do the offer itself. And the offer is still very collaborative. So maybe what I could do is I could walk somebody through this process. I could sit down with them and over the course of 90 minutes explain this in ludicrously complex detail. I'm kidding. And then share a recording of such or a recording of this with them so that they can follow through with the same process in their own mind and then come into these programs understanding exactly how to do it themselves. Well, wouldn't you know it, I just so happen to be recording that right now. So perfect. So now I don't have to worry about the offer anymore, right? Because now what I can say is I can say, watch this 90-minute training. I'm going to end here in about 10 minutes. Watch this 90-minute training. That's going to walk you through the pricing procedure of it. It's going to walk you through how to think about the tiers. It's going to walk you through how to calculate your MRR and how to calculate your pricing and how many people you can take. It's going to walk you through how to structure the elements in your offer. And yes, these are my elements. Yes, I'm pulling the curtain back, but you've already paid me. So why not show you how this stuff is built? Why not? It doesn't bother me at all to show what I'm thinking about. I'm proud of all this stuff. Otherwise, I wouldn't put it online. If I thought I was giving people a bum deal, I would never go out and tell people about this, right? But that's not the case. I think this is a really good program. I think this is going to get them farther along. So why don't I just take this content and put it out there and let them go through it? So we'll do guided offer workshop. And what I might do is, just to make this a little bit less meta, is I might do a separate workshop on this same topic. Maybe I delete this episode, right? This goes into the vault, and I don't release it after, I take it down after a month or something like that. So, hey, if you were here and watched it, congratulations, it might be gone in a month. Or maybe I just use this, right? Maybe I use this initially, and then over time, as I change things and tweak things, I change it, right? So let's do this, and this will just be the guided offer workshop. And this is going to be, maybe we do that too. Maybe we say, no, we'll do personal offer development. We'll leave that on there. Okay, so now, if we look at our 4-part methodology, right? First thing we do is the offer development. So we covered that. Part of the offer is that persona. So that's all kind of fitting into there. The next part is the website. We've covered that. We said, hey, we're going to teach a website to write some of this copy and structure it. Then we're going to review it in our group calls so that I don't have to handwrite them in the sessions themselves, which takes up a lot of time. And then we have so we have that. And then we have the script. Again, I can train an AI to write scripts based on the scripts I already know work, because at this point I've written hundreds of ads, so I can just pick the ones that work best. And since I'm focusing in specifically on coaches and consultants, specifically high ticket coaches and consultants, I know what's going to work specifically for them. So I can train an AI for that specific market to work. So that's another kind of win. And then I have self-guided. What was that again? Oh shoot! I'm gonna have to go look back. I don't know what this said. Oh, this was self-guided development. That's what this was. Or no, I'm sorry, self-guided copy. That's what this was. No, wait, hold on. What did I say the self-guided for? DIY. Oh, self-guided ads. That's what it was supposed to be. So we have that too. I was about to say, I thought I had ads on here, self-guided ads. And then we have done with you ad management. So again, for self-guided ads, I'll come in and I'll look at it. I'm not going to do it for you. So I think we've covered all. Now, the fourth part is the part that I think people, it's really one of those things. And you know, next time we'll go over the agency offers and how we build those and how those tie in and how I make sure. But one of the things that includes is an element of sales enablement. So that is, you know, call script writing and all of that. I think that's something that could actually be done template. And that's, you know, if you guys come to my workshop that I'm going to be doing in a couple weeks, leave a comment on this. If you want to get an invite to that workshop, leave a comment below. And just for those of you stuck around to the end, I'll drop you a free invite to it. It's going to be like $100 workshop. But if you leave a comment, it means that you watch this whole thing. And I certainly appreciate that. So just leave a comment and I'll drop you an invite. But I can template it. It's a simple sales process, and it's absolutely templatable. So I'll do a template here and template sales. I should have put call sales call template. I don't know why I didn't do that. Sales call template. Sales call template. And this is custom sales call. Custom sales script. And so now, I think I'm almost the end. I think that really covers most of our system. Sure. Do we have other agency services? Can we teach them how to get on blogs or on a podcast and all of that? Yeah, we can. And maybe that is part of it. Maybe we do have that. So that's another thing that we're tinkering with AI is how to create this stuff. So maybe we do AI powered one-sheeter. AI powered one-sheeter. Human written one-sheeter. And then we're going to do plus design. We're going to throw in the design for them. And then we're going to actually do this for everybody. We're going to throw in the design. I think these are pretty good. I think this is a pretty good plan. Is it expensive? Absolutely. Is it a great fit for people that don't have enough money to hire an agency, but need agency services, but more importantly, they need the guidance of what services they actually need, and they don't want to waste a bunch of money on stuff that's not going to work? Yes. Is this going to cover everything from the, you know, initially getting a offer out there and structured the way people are going to buy, to developing the ads that are actually going to sell it, to the website people are going to need to buy it on, to the sales system to actually sell it? Yes, 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 and yes. And as a little bonus, we give them the AI one-sheeter to give it, give people something that they can sink their teeth into when they want to go and start promoting themselves now that they have the offer. I think this is dumb. I don't think anything. Now, something did pop into my head as I was doing this, and I'll end on this. What you might notice as you're going through this is that this package here, I think you can see me circling, right? The 1997 package seems ludicrously overpowered compared to the two others. And it almost seems like the difference between the 497 and the 997, it's really not that much. The only real difference is that you get one session versus 3 sessions a week, right? That's it. And there's a reason for that. The reason is because I only want people who can afford this to sign up for this, right? And who see all this stuff and say, yeah, this is exactly what I want. This is what I need. And I don't want to do that for everybody. I want to do that with very few people. I only want to do it with 2 people at a time. When it comes to these 2 sessions, I want people to look at the 497 and say, well, geez, it doesn't come with enough stuff. It feels like it's underpowered. It feels like I'm not going to be getting as much out of this program. I should just do the 997, right? But here's the problem. This is probably, whereas you might say, well, this one in column 3 is overpowered. You need to make this more in line with the other 2. The actual problem is that this is overpowered. It's tier 1. How do you solve for that? It's a good question. I don't really know. We'll have to think about it. I'll have to figure out if there's something I can cut. Or maybe I leave it as it is and I take it to market and I see what people sign up for. And if a bunch of people sign up for the 497 because they feel like meeting only once a week is a better deal for, and the 997 just isn't a good catch for them, maybe I need to reevaluate my pricing. But we're not going to know that. We're not going to know that because that's the way this game is played. We have to take something into the market first. We have to take the steps and put something like this together and actually put it in front of people before we're going to know if it's going to work or not. I don't know if this is going to work. I think it will. I know that with all my years experience of doing this and doing it for hundreds of clients, I think it's got a pretty good shot. Do I know which one of those is going to be more popular? I have some inklings. I am very curious to see if too many people sign up for the 497, because too many people sign up for the 497, that becomes a problem too. And so maybe I have to cap that, and I have to say, well, you know what, that program only can take a certain number of people. Or maybe it doesn't come with all the extra stuff. Maybe it's literally you just get the session a week. Maybe that's it. So all that to said, you're never going to get this perfect on the first try. And so it's impossible to try to work this until it's perfect, because that's not how offers are. You really have to put something together, see if it flies, take it down, rebuild it, put it back up there. And over time, you will get better and better. Now, what I know right now is that my current 497 offer is aligned very well with the 997. They actually get more. It's kind of like a combination of 497 and 1997. So that's not great. It's delivering too much value for too little money. Are people going to bite if it's 997 and if it's a lot of more self-directed? I don't know. Again, I don't know. Could be, but we won't know until we try. So what I'm going to be thinking about over the next week or next couple of days before we talk again is, should I be pulling stuff out of the 497? Should I make the 497 a little bit less powerful, have a little bit less stuff in it? What are those things that I could take out that I'd still feel like, well, I'm giving them enough. I'm giving them enough to get to that next level without feeling like I'm giving them too much. So I'm going to be thinking about that and figuring all that stuff out. Next week, next Tuesday, we're going to examine how this structure interacts with my agency structure and show you how to separate a coaching and consulting offer, which is very much this. This is coaching with a little bit of consulting, a little sprinkle of implementation. And that's one of the big risks, is that you really want to keep your coaching consulting separated from implementation as best you can. But being in this business so long, I know that some people, it's a minority, but some people really like having those two things together. And so having an offer, even if it's not going to attract a lot of people, even if I'm going to say I'm only taking 2 clients at a time, is still worth having. So I'm going to show you how this now works with an agency model, because what this is designed to do is really set a groundwork. It's the consistency of people, staying in the program over the course of a number of years, or a number of months, right? The agency program is a month-to-month program similar to this. However, the runway for those programs is like 3 to 6 months, depending on what we're doing for the person. And so to prevent people from having a bunch of clients cycle out simultaneously and throw my finances into chaos, having something like this provides that kind of level of smooth sailing. So that's a little bit about behind the scenes. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions on how to do this, or if you're doing it yourself or you want help doing it. I'm more than happy to walk you through it. And like I said, if you're struggling with this, if you want to jump on a call, visit us, growhouse.org. You can book a free call with me. We can talk it over. I can give you a little bit of advice on the call and see if you're interested in one of our fine coaching programs that you know everything about and how they work. I will say these are changing right now. We're not actively recruiting for the coaching program. We're not going into sales calls pitching that. We're really pitching the agency services right now. That said, if one of these interests you and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what I need, give me a call. We'll get you set up. It's not a problem. All right. That's going to do it for this week. Thanks, everybody, for joining in and watching. I appreciate your time. And next week, like I said, we'll focus on the agency side and breaking that offer stack down. And it's talking about how they can coexist and how to write marketing that serves both purposes. So be sure to check us out Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2 p.m. to right around now, like 3:30. We're a bit late today, but 2 to 3:30. And make sure you follow us everywhere applicable. Let's get those numbers up. Drop a follow on the page. Drop a like. We're trying to get to 1,000 people on TikTok so we can go live there. So if you can give us a follow there, I'd appreciate it. Otherwise, you have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week.